we've got charges being filed against the Democrat lawmaker representative from New Jersey, Alina Habba, the new district attorney there, is charging her with some pretty significant things, including assault on a federal officer because of this.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Monica's in the red. Okay, so the whole thing's pretty unbelievable. The DHS, Department of Homeland Security, says they have footage of her actually body slamming these ICE agents. I'm going to show you a little bit more footage that we've accumulated, but I want to go back to the full soundbite of Donald Trump speaking out against this kind of behavior, saying, you know what, the woke stuff is over. This crap starts now. Excuse my French. He said it. The President of the United States. Cue the tape.
That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
You bet we are. We're going to have law and order, which means you can't show up at the Delancey ICE detention center unannounced and decide you're going to trespass onto the premises, regardless of the fact that you're a representative newly elected from New Jersey. I mean, this can't happen. It can't. So Alina Habba coming out with an official letter. You know, one of the points that she makes in this letter is that she gave Representative McIver ample opportunity to express remorse, to say, you know, maybe this wasn't appropriate, we should have had a scheduled time, etc. There's no remorse from LaMonica McIver. She is instead doubling down, trying to insist somehow that this is her job. It's your job to go out and promote violence. So guess what? She's facing a penalty, ladies and gentlemen, of up to 7 years in prison, along with fines anywhere between $100K and $250K. So she's violated Title 18, United States Code, Section 111A1, and she's being charged with the assault of law enforcement there, impeding law enforcement, and interfering with law enforcement. So LaMonica, we may have to be visiting you in some kind of detention facility pretty darn soon, given the fines that this carries and the penalties it carries. I want to go back to what I was telling you earlier, which is that this woman has no remorse. She doesn't seem to understand why it is that she was wrong. I should point out that Alina actually dropped the charges against the Newark, New Jersey mayor, because he expressed some remorse. He was willing to work with them. She didn't get that from LaMonica McIver, so I guess you got to actually make an example of the lady, because as Donald Trump said, we're not going to put up with the crap anymore. Thank you very much. Here is LaMonica with all her crap.
I think the charges are absurd. You know, it's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before. This is our obligation to do. It's in our job description to have oversight over a facility, and the entire situation was escalated by ICE. They caused the confrontation. Homeland came and, caused this chaos that we see. It was a very tense situation, but it could have been, easily it could have easily not happened.
Yeah, it could. Do you see that? I mean, it could have easily not happened if she had not escalated things. But again, Monica McIver feels that it is her responsibility as a lawmaker to do this kind of stuff.
So having time and space to think about what happened on that day and reflect on it, would you have done anything differently?
No, I would not have. Once again, we showed up there to do a job, Kate. We were there for an oversight visit. We have done this before. You know, me, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and Congressman Bob Menendez was just at a facility just a couple of weeks ago, not too far from this location, where we had an oversight visit, and we were a little bit delayed, but not, confronted or was in the middle of a chaos to do so. I think, number one, we have an obligation to do so. We have to show up and do our jobs. And at the end of the day, the reason why we were there is because we wanted to make sure this facility was up to par, that it was clean, that it was safe, and that the detainees there were, given due process, that they were able to use the phone, that they were able to speak to their legal representation, which we found out was not happening. But that was our reason. So despite, what Republicans are saying, like, about us, trying to break people out of jail, that's untrue. We were not there to do that. We were there to conduct an oversight visit, which after all of this, the chaos, Kate, they gave us a tour. We were all of this, we broke in, we assaulted people, all of these things that, Habba is saying.
Whoa. You broke in, you assaulted people. Glad we got that one on record. And then they gave you a tour because I guess they're just nice.
And Republicans are saying, but they gave us a tour and allowed us to go in and tour the facility and speak to detainees. So, I would not have done anything different because, once again, the people that I represent expect from me to do my job. And that is exactly what I plan on doing. And that is what I was doing that day at Delaney Hall.
Lawmaker. I just like saying that. They expected you to do your job by going and starting a fight. Again, I want to point out that DHS says they have actual footage of Lawmaker body slamming an ICE agent. I mean, again, how is this okay? It's not okay, as Alina Habba outlines. And again, going back to violating the code. Title 18, U.S. Code Section 111A1. You can't do that. You know what? It doesn't matter if you're a U.S. representative from Congress. Really, Lawmaker. Or whether you're just a regular old American. You can't do it, okay? And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, she is being charged. Of course, some people aren't very happy about it. Some people like the usual suspects. Jasmine Crockett, who, gosh darn it, Leslie, if you're watching in Texas, why did Texas ever put this woman in? She's something else. Jasmine Crockett has a statement out in support of Representative Lawmaker McGuire. Shocker. Let me be very clear. This is what the weaponization of government looks like. No, this is not what the weaponization of government looks like. This is what you call law and order. In other words, you can't go in there and trespass onto a facility without any kind of warning. You just don't show up. And when ICE tells you, hey, back off, you're supposed to back up. But of course, this is Jasmine Crockett. You know Jasmine, right?
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hand. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
Just so we know where Jasmine's coming from, right? Just to jog your memory. Okay, so Jasmine's saying absolutely not. This is weaponization of government, that they cannot go after a representative of the U.S. government, that this is about justice, for example, that this was a political stunt. Oh, I think it was a political stunt, all right. I think it was a political stunt by the left, and I think Lawmaker, who chooses not to have any remorse, is making it more and more into a political stunt, which is why you now have the President of the United States of America saying, no way, Jose.
That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Yeah, we're going to have law and order, which means representatives from the U.S. Congress are going to get charged when they do things like they violate Title 18, U.S. States Code Section 111A1 for assault, impeding law enforcement, and interfering with law enforcement, regardless of what the Jasmine Crockett's of the world happen to say about this. I want to go to my good friend Craig Jarrett, who is a former attorney and a legal scholar, and he's now on Fox. He's written a lot of books on the Trump administration and the weaponization of the left, and get his take on things. Let's listen in. Here he is on Fox and Friends this morning.
It's the first time President Trump's DOJ has criminally charged a sitting lawmaker during his term. Pointing to this video, they say shows her shoving past DHS agents earlier this month. I want to take her being a congresswoman off the table and just the laws that were broken here and what they're saying that they're going to charge her with. It's 18 U.S. Code 111A1, assaulting, resisting, impeding certain officers and employees. That's forcibly assault, resist, opposes, impede, intimidates, or interferes with. Does she meet that?
Well, the feds say it does. The body cam footage that they have, that others haven't seen, they say shows Representative MacGyver committing assault under the statute. And we've all seen some of the other video. There's a lot of shoving going on. But, Lawrence, understand that assault doesn't exclusively require physical contact. It can include intimidation or threats that create a reasonable apprehension of harm to a law enforcement officer. So, her words are equally as important as her physical acts. And of course, she's presumed innocent. She'll get her day in court. But if her defense is, as she now claims, that, I was just exercising legislative oversight, that's not going to work, because lofty status as a member of Congress confers no special exemption for criminal acts. She and her fellow Democrats could have made an appointment to inspect the detention facility. That's the normal, orderly process. But instead, Homeland Security says they stormed through a gate, tried to get past security. That's when the melee occurred as officers stopped them. Democrats spent the last 4 years telling us, Lawrence, that nobody's above the law. Well, Representative MacGyver may find out that they were right about that.
Yeah, remember that? No one's above the law. I think Letitia James kind of coined that phrase. Well, guess what? You know what? No one is above it, and that is something that MacGyver is about to find out, and everyone else that's sitting there defending her in Congress, which is why you have one person, Letitia James, getting just a tad bit nervous, right? Did you guys notice how she's been speaking out, getting a little bit crazy, a little bit out over her skis lately on this? Quick mention, shout out for our sponsors. We're fully independent here on the Trish Regan Show. This is how we like it, baby. No more networks, no more middle management. And we are proud to tell you about gold, because gold has gone up, up, and away ever since I've been telling you about it. By the way, I've been telling you about it long before we ever had a sponsor, because I just actually happen to like investing in gold and do so personally myself. Trish Loves Gold. Remember that, up to $15,000 right now with American Hartford Gold. If you go to Trish Loves Gold in free silver for qualifying offers, just call them at 1-844-495-1115 or text Trish to 65532. A lot of reasons to like gold right now, I'll tell you. But AOC is starting to get nervous. AOC came out in front of this, don't forget. A couple of days ago, shortly after this whole incident happened with MacGyver and Menendez and the Newark mayor there in the Delancey Center prison area, ICE detention center, AOC came out and said this.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Okay, we're going to have a problem, are we? Well, I guess they're sort of laying a finger, if you would, on one MacGyver, because she's just been charged with assaulting a federal officer, which carries up to 7 years in prison and fines of $100,000 to $250,000. Now, I actually think that this is kind of normal in that, you know what, if you're doing something where you're allegedly body slamming another human being, in this case a federal officer, then yeah, you're going to have an issue. You are going to have an issue indeed. And you know what? That's exactly what just went down. She's all mad about Tom Homan, but listen, The reality is this. AOC, you can't break the law, even if you're a representative for the United States of America. This was put to the DHS press person the other day on Fox. My good friend David Asman asking the question. Listen to Trish's response.
If AOC goes down there and pulls the same kind of stunt that we've seen on Friday and today, are you going to arrest her as well?
If she trespasses and if she assaults law enforcement officers, as we saw earlier, I think that that's certainly on the table.
Yeah, of course it is, okay? Like, this isn't rocket science. And as for what you think about Homan, I'm sorry, Homan's just doing his job. He's been doing his job since, well, you were a baby.
First of all, you can't intimidate me. Come on, give me a break. You know, I was enforcing him. I was wearing a green uniform, Border Patrol agent, for 5 years before she was even born. I had more than 3 decades enforcing immigration law before she became a member of Congress. I worked for 6 presidents. I've seen policies, I've seen hundreds of policies. Some worked, some didn't. But you can't deny the success of the Trump administration when it comes to border security. Again, the most secure border in the history of this nation. And I said from day one, and she knows this, you can not support ICE. Shame on you. You can support sanctuary cities. Shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't knowingly impede ICE law enforcement officers. That is a felony. You can't harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. That is a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass. You know, and as far as New York, her district, this administration has done more to protect her district than she has. The number of criminal aliens we took off the streets of New York made her community much safer. She ought to be thanking the members of this administration, the men and women of ICE, who protect this country and make her community safer. So, you know, it's politics over public safety. It's just ridiculous. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump, because we're doing a lot to protect her community.
Well said. Of course, her community is actually seeing crime rise since she got there by some 70%, according to a new study out of the New York Post that was published just yesterday. I mean, I think it's important to remember you've got to love your community more than you hate Trump. But she thinks that she's doing the right thing, of course. She's saying, well, she's got to protect her constituents, which is why she's putting out little pamphlets like this. Yeah, this one, if you see ICE in public, make sure you verify them, you document them, you share information with everyone. She wants to make sure it's in Spanish as well. Well, you can't really do that because that is impeding.
Dispute, if that's the
forgive
right
me,
word,
that is impeding law enforcement. And so she's starting to get nervous. You saw a little clip. Do you want to see it? I know we saw it yesterday, but this is the NPR interview where she basically comes out and says, I want to know, am I in trouble for this? Because if I am, you know, all hell's going to break loose. She put out a letter to the DOJ, Pam Bondi, saying, am I going to get arrested too? Look, I think we go back to what Tricia McLaughlin said with the DHS. If you take it so far as to actually impede law enforcement, physically impede law enforcement, you're going to have problems. I think she ought to be arrested for all the literature she's putting out. I get that you have free speech, etc., but she is a member of Congress, and we do have laws. And this is one where the federal government has made a big stink out of the fact that they have the supremacy over state laws in this matter. So here she is pleading her case to NPR just about 8 weeks ago.
You had a recent dispute, if that's the right word, with Tom Homan, the president's Homeland Security czar, so-called. You held an online forum, a Know Your Rights forum, that he didn't like. What were you doing? What was your goal as you saw it?
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
Homan was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents. Yeah.
He said he was going to report you, or even that he did reach out to the Department of Justice. Have you heard from the Department of Justice?
I have not, and I intend on reaching out to the Department of Justice to inquire.
Really? What would your question be for the Department of Justice?
Well, there is a member of the Trump administration who is threatening and seeks to open an inquiry, and are you going to do it?
What would you
The
learn?
reporter's like, "Oh, and what does that get you?" Well, it gets me some knowledge of whether or not they're actually going to come and arrest me or not. Remember, here's the letter. But here's the thing. So far, so good for AOC. I think she's quite nervous. There's a part of me that actually thinks she wants to get arrested. Like maybe she's a little bit jealous of Monica. La Monica. How can I forget? La Monica. Monica MacGyver. I think she's a little jealous because she hasn't said anything yet on Twitter other than what she said the other day. You know, you come after one, you're coming after all of us, basically. She was asked just yesterday whether or not she had heard on anything on her arrest, and she told that reporter after he said, hey, have they told you yet? Had they responded? And she said, no, they haven't responded. I've asked them. They have not responded. So they're keeping her in this guessing game. But all I'm going to say is, you know what? AOC, if you do something like what I'm about to show you, then yes, you would deserve arrest. And you're a moron if you think otherwise.
We should let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a
The
video
American
of
people should know
members
the
of
facts.
Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Who has the video?
ICE does, and we will be releasing that very shortly.
Okay. Let's talk about
Unbelievable, right? By the way, the video that they have released, again, it's not apparently as violent as what they believe that they actually have. The video that we've already seen is pretty, aggressive stuff. If we go back to that for a moment. If you're listening on Spotify, we're looking at LaMonica. She's in the red. She's pushing herself up. You see that against the ICE agent there. She keeps pushing her body into that person, trying to break through. Like, why are you trying to do that? Why are you so aggressively trying to break through law enforcement just to break into this facility? It's really, frankly, pretty bizarre.
So having time and space to...
Really, really bizarre. And of course, she feels no remorse whatsoever. No remorse, as we just saw in the CNN clip earlier. So AOC is getting a little nervous. But, I don't know why you go and stick your neck out in front of this one. I don't think it's going to get you very far, in my estimation. I will say this. Tom Homan is coming out more and more, speaking out more and more. In fact, this morning said, listen, the self-deportation thing is a good thing. We need more people to be self-deporting. So watch him here.
Because if they don't, they're going to face serious consequences. What we started doing, we're enforcing two laws that we haven't enforced for a long time. Number one, failing to register. If you don't fail to register after 90 days of being here, we're going to prosecute you criminally. Then we're going to deport you. And if you hinder your arrest, if you don't open the door, if you don't answer our questions, if you don't assist in travel documents to your home nation after being ordered deported by the immigration judge, then we're going to prosecute you for that, which is 8 U.S.C. 1253. So we'll prosecute you, we'll put you in prison. When you get out, we'll deport you. We're not playing games. There are going to be consequences. Leave on your own. If you leave on your own and work with us and get your affairs in order, it makes sense for them and their families, and leave yourself an opportunity to come back to this country as a visitor or as a student, or if you have a U.S. citizen child, they can petition for you as a parent of a U.S. citizen. There are other avenues to come to this country the right way. But if we have to formally deport you, we got to go find you, and we got to put you on a plane and formally deport you. There are consequences. There are bars from 5 years to 20 years. You can't come back. Some of the bars are forever. So leave on your own and give yourself some opportunity in the future to be part of the greatest country on earth.
Makes sense? Right, in other words, if you don't self-deport and they find you, and it sounds like they will find you, then you can never come back. Or it's going to take 30 years. So why not actually do the right thing, work with law enforcement? I think they're giving out $1,000 bonuses. They just had the first plane shipping out yesterday. And then it's a win-win for everyone. Wow. Or else, right? Or else. And he means business. Believe me, Tom Homan means business. Again, we are fully independent. We like it, so please subscribe, share, like. I want to give a shout out to one of our great sponsors here, Patriot Mobile. I love these guys because suddenly my phone calls have stopped dropping because they give you 3 lines. Hey, you can get like 3 different carriers all for one. Not bad, right? You get to keep your cell phone, you get to keep your phone number, and you get to keep whatever's your most favorite line, plus you add in a few more. Go to patriotmobile.com/Trish. You get a free month so you can try it out. Call 972-PATRIOT, P-A-T-R-I. You know how to spell Patriot today. Go there and check this out. I'll tell you, where I live, it's been great because, you know, this cell phone tower works over there. You know, I used to actually carry 2 different cell phones, believe it or not. So these guys are terrific. Plus, they support our troops. They support our Constitution. They support the Trish Regan Show. How can you not like them? patriotmobile.com/Trish, T-R-I-S-H, my name, or call them. Call 972-PATRIOT and mention my name. You get the free month off. Not bad.